Yeah. That was back in 2008.
Mm.
And, I was living what I thought was a very successful life, and it was. I was working at a school. I was really good at my job. I had my son who was 5, he's 15 now.
Mhm.
So he's a full grown man. That's what he thinks. And I had my husband, and we were living and working at a boarding school. And but every single second of my life was consumed with something not me.
Mhm.
It was work. It was taking care of my son. It was being a wife. It was going on the weekends to teach piano and voice lessons and guitar. I don't play guitar, but I taught guitar lessons. And so every single weekend and I would have maybe a half a day off a week.
Mhm.
And I was much heavier than I am now. And I was coming back from one of these, my weekend gig, and I started having chest pains on the left side of my chest. And of course, when you have chest pains on the left side of your chest,
You get a little bit worried.
Right. I got a lot worried. Pulled over. I'm trying to figure out, what should I do? And I'm like, am I going to die here? Like with my son in the car, and it was very scary. Like I laugh about it now, but it was a very, very scary experience. And when I had these pains that I'd never had before, and so I eventually decided to keep driving. I was an hour away from home, which is it's dumb. In hindsight, that's the dumbest thing I should have
drive through my heart
911. And but I got home and went to the hospital, and and I had to stay there for 8 hours because when you have chest pains, they run you through tests for 8 hours, and just to make sure that you don't have any clotting or any damage to your heart. And so I didn't have any damage, because it wasn't a heart attack, it was a panic attack. Which I'm like, I don't have panic attacks, and the doctor was like, well, yes, you do, because you had a panic attack. And, in hindsight, of course, I didn't have any time to myself. I was working very, very long days, at a boarding school, because you teach, you coach, you do activities, you are a dorm parent at night, so those are your kids. And then you wake up in the morning and do it all again. And then on the weekends, you do trips with them and you're their parents. And then you go, then I had this other job that I was doing. And so it took its toll on me. And, I was, as I said, I was, much heavier than I am now. And I had this rash on my skin, and I didn't sleep. Because I was always working. I would get up super early, get up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and work. And I always had work at home because I worked I lived where I worked. And, and so my son was always sick. I was always sick. And so it was this horrible, horrible compendium of things. And finally, so when I went to the cardiologist to follow up, just in case there's anything, do some more tests. And he said, look, how old is your son? I said, well, he's 5. He said, well, do you want to see him grow up? He didn't need to say anything else. That's all he said. That's what, he said, well, I need you to lose a little bit of weight, and I need you to start sleeping again. I need you to take some of those stressful factors out of your life. I need you to reorganize. I need you to reprioritize. And so I was like, okay, I get it. And that next day, it was kind of like that field hockey thing, where that even though it was so painful and just shocking to every single bone and every fiber of my body, I saw what I needed to do. I was like, okay, well, I need to get better at running. And that's one thing about me that I like about myself. I can be very clinical and very okay, this is what I need to do. I can look at a situation for what it is. Take all the emotion out, take all the other stuff that is not helpful out, and say, this is what I need to do. And then I do it. So the day after that cardiologist visit, I said, okay, this is what I need to do. And it was painful. I get on a treadmill. It was awful. It's I feel so bad now. And I felt bad about myself. I felt how did I let myself get to this point where I can't even run a mile? And it hurts. And so I happened to have bought a treadmill 2 months prior, because I think in the back of my head, I knew I needed to do something. So, yeah, I got on it. It was awful. And I said, well, okay, this is where I'm starting. I know how running makes me feel. I know that I will get better. I know it'll take a couple of weeks, and it'll continue being hard, but I have to do it. Like, hello, life, I'm going to live, you know? So that was it. That was that incident that was very cathartic.
And you were at that time quite a bit heavier than you are now. You mentioned like 70 pounds
I was
heavier.
over 300 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilograms.
Yeah, like 150 or so. Yeah. Okay, so quite sizable. Huh? Mm-hmm. You come from a family that has struggled quite a bit with diabetes and metabolic diseases like that. So one thing I want to talk with you about is sometimes what I'm struggling a bit, and I would really love to hear your opinion about the whole thing, because I really want to learn from that. There's this fat acceptance movement, let's put it this way, and the way I think is I'm absolutely 100% with all those people who say, okay, everybody should have the right to feel whatever they want to feel in their body, and to live the life they want to live as long as it makes them happy. Absolutely. So 100% agree with that. The point that I'm sometimes worried about is when you start just accepting an unhealthy behavior, and you obviously, when you have all the right to say, okay, look, you're very active, you're doing sports, so like this discussion of, who can do what, right? This is not the discussion we should have, because everyone should be able to do whatever they want to like, do the sports they want to like, to go running, go to the gym without being judged in any way. That absolutely, so that's no way. But what I'm sometimes worried about is with this acceptance movement, that we accept behaviors that are unhealthy. And if sometimes people add that why it can create metabolic diseases and can lead to diabetes. So where do you see the line where we say, okay, yes, everyone should feel right about, should have the right to his or her own body, but still, we should be active, we should be moving, we should do something about it and to improve itself. Because you yourself said you were at the point where your health was declining and you needed to do something about it. So where do you draw that line?
Well, the whole idea of fat acceptance is very interesting to me. I think the premise of the movement is that all bodies are good bodies, right? And I think that's what it is. Like the body positive movement, the fat acceptance movement, the health at every size movement, that all of those movements have that thing in common, where the idea is that, you are a worthy human being no matter what size you are. And I do agree with that. I am, I'm a proponent of that. Like you are worthy, you are worthy. Your humanity is just as meaningful as somebody else's humanity that is thinner than you, that is fatter than you, that is different. So that's that's where that's the idea that I love and that I share. I, as an athlete, as somebody who moves, as somebody who knows the benefits of movement, I think everybody should be moving. Of course, we do live in a society where you have the right to do anything you want. But I won't judge people for not doing what I do, or I won't judge people for their own behaviors, because they're the people that have to deal with their own behaviors. But I also think, and I'm trying to actually develop a real thought on this, a real position on, when those behaviors start affecting people in your family, or, for me personally, I didn't want to get any less healthy than I was. And, and looking at my family history, looking at people who have died from issues with hypertension. My grandmother had an aneurysm. My uncle, in my book, my Uncle Greg, had a heart attack. And these are people that are like amazing people. Like they were generous, open, giving, loving. They worked really hard. There are also environmental factors There are also socioeconomic factors that contribute to one's health. And I think, but we cannot look at someone's size or their behaviors in a vacuum. We have to consider everything. And we're not at that point yet where we're, because we judge people, well, they have this behavior, or that, maybe they're out of a job. Maybe they don't have access to good quality food in their neighborhood. Maybe they live in a food desert. Maybe they don't have enough education. Maybe, so like I think before we say things about people's behaviors, I think we have to look at the whole picture, and that's not where we are right now. But again, I think human bodies are meant to move, unless you have some sort of disabling factor, you should be moving, because like, that's why we have legs. That's why we have arms. That's why we have hearts, and then when, and really like, and this physical therapist told me, no, occupational therapist told me this. She said, when we stop moving, we stop living, right? And when we stop moving, we stop learning, and then we stop learning, we stop moving. It creates this whole cycle of us just dying. We're all dying, right? We're all dying. As soon as we were born, we're dying.
Some dying faster, some dying
slower. But I think it's really complicated. I think we have to not think of people's health as this one faceted thing, because there's so many factors that go into somebody's health. Like I grew up we grew up poor. There were some families that on our block that could afford to have their kids in sports. There were some families that did not have to be on public assistance, so they had access to better food. Like my family was on public assistance a lot of the time, so, and then those dollars, those food stamps could only buy certain foods, or like fruits and vegetables were really expensive, so we have to take those things into account. When we're thinking about health, when we're thinking about, health and wellness, and, but I do think that, people are valuable just as they are. And, everyone has a different story. Everyone, and everyone, there's a reason why everyone is the way they are,
So it's not about saying, it's cool if you're like 400 pounds and diabetic. That's cool. It's more about saying, hey, you are worthy the way you are, and I shouldn't judge you by your looks, because there's not only you being lazy, and you talk about this in the book as well. It's not about you being lazy and slop and dumb or whatever. It's considering that there are factors that not everyone can control, and that play into the whole thing.
And there are factors that you can control, but again, I think that, a lot more research needs to be done. As a whole, like in the United States, people are getting bigger. Everybody's getting bigger. The norm, like for women, 67% of American women are size 14 and up. And so it's not the fallacy of one person. That's not one person's behaviors. And so we can't all be lazy and sitting on the couch, drinking soda bottles and eating ice cream. We can't all be doing that. Like, we're not all lazy. We're not all just like staying at home, not doing anything. So like there's there's something in the water. But so there obviously a lot of societal factors. There are a lot of sort of food industry factors.
Oh, absolutely.
And
sugar, processed
big
food,
pharma, big food, big agriculture, all of that. And so, we stop. This, our society was built on individualism, but at some point, capitalism takes over, and so you've got to think about what kids are eating in school. Like the kind of food that the USDA offers to kids in public schools is the lowest quality food ever. So like, you know,
I think
so it's not,
Michael
and then
Pollan
they
talks
cut
about
out
this.
PE,
I think pizza is
ahead.
I think Michael Pollan is the author who talks about this. Like
Right.
pizza is classified as vegetables
Because it has tomato sauce on it.
Exactly. Which is like
yeah, and so right, and so you know, so I think, you know, like you know, people they want to blame one person. They want to blame, you know, and of course we all have personal responsibility, but like you have to think of the bigger picture. And see what else is happening, what else is going on. So like if you have a problem with people being 400 pounds, like go get to the root of it. If you have a problem with people being whatever weight they are or whatever their lifestyle is, you know, like really look into it. Don't take it at face value.
Okay. Are you happy with your weight right now?
You know, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I have some goals of some particular races that for me, and again, I'm only speaking of myself personally, I would like to maybe, and I know this is probably going to be controversial to people that listen to this, that, you know, are in my community. Like for me, for performance wise, if I dropped a little bit of weight, I would be able to make the cutoffs at these particular races, because I want to do a 200-mile race in Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
Eventually.
What do you mean by cutoffs?
Time cutoffs.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you have to be able to sustain a certain, you know, a certain mile pace, a mile per hour pace, in order to make the first cutoff and then the second cutoff. And so like I want to do that, and I know that I would like physics. I know that it'd be faster if I dropped a couple of pounds. And so, but that's not why dropping a couple of pounds is for that purpose, and it's not for any aesthetic reason. And I think that's where people get all, you know, like I'm not doing it because I like I want to look a certain way. I think I look good, okay, and you know, but I do want to do this, you know, for a performance end. And so, you know, but like my body functions very well the way it is now, and it's incredibly powerful. It has taken me to many places, to many like really awesome places, and so I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah. And you're incredibly fit. I mean, looking at the videos, I mean, the exercise that you do is so definitely no
Thank you.
definitely no question. Definitely no question that you are fit. Yeah. Let's talk about music. You're a trained opera singer, right?
Yeah, I am. So I went to so back in while I was in high school, I actually also went to Juilliard pre-college for classical singing, and I was one of 3 voice majors there. Everybody else, like the piano department, had many people, and you know, violin, and you know, of course, it's in New York City and it's exciting, and so that was really cool. And then I went to Oberlin Conservatory of Music and Oberlin College of Arts and Sciences for college. And so, you know, I'd always thought that, you know, it'd be not me. Other people thought that, you know, I'd be like at the Met singing, or like at like New York City Opera, or like or like Bayreuth or something. And but there were other things I was interested in. So like I didn't really pursue it much after. You know, I did for a couple of years after college. I did a lot of auditions. I did a lot of concerts. You know, a lot of sort of singing competitions. You know, and I did fairly well in them, but I didn't like that grind. I was determined not to be a poor artist. I didn't want to be a starving artist. And so I decided to work in corporate America. And so, and, you know, like, but I'm always, you know, I'll always be a musician. I'll always be a singer. I am starting to work on it now, you know, because I have some projects in mind where I want to fuse classical music with experiences in nature.
Oh, okay.
So it's coming back, you know. I still got my chops. They're not as good as they were, but I'm working towards it. And and so like, and I love classical music. Like there's There's nothing like it. There's nothing like listening to some Puccini or, some Mascagni or Rachmaninoff, and just enjoying that part of myself. Because a lot of people, again, look at me, they don't see a classical musician. Somebody that can play Rachmaninoff on the piano or sing Tchaikovsky or in Russian.
Are your hands big enough to play Rachmaninoff?
They're not. They're big for a woman.
like Rachmaninoff has really had you need these really big hands to play.
Like the long. My fingers would have needed to be. But oh man, that's another thing that just kind of like we talked about before about like piano, like just kind of feeds my musical soul, like just classical music in general. Just feeds me in a way that other music doesn't, and I'm so glad that I have it in my life.
That's amazing. So, any like that project that you have, is that something that's going to launch soon? So, where can people learn more about that, or is it still in the secret development stages?
It's still in the development stages. I got to get some sponsors, but I will say that it will be an immersive experience, and arts-based experience in nature.
Okay.
And I'll be posting about it on my new website that just went live last week. It's called it's themirnavator.com. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that one. Huh?
Yeah, it's very new. Well, I've been working on it with with a branding company for a long time, and so it finally launched. And it's beautiful. It's a really, really beautiful website. It's just themirnavator.com.
Themirnavator.com.
And yeah.
There we go. It's loading.
And it's got all my partners and my sponsors.
There we go. I didn't see that one. Oh, yeah, no, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Like it. I missed that one.
I'll be posting all my events on that, and but also I'm a very, very heavy Instagram user. I'm actually a professional Instagrammer now. So people pay me to post things on Instagram.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so you can always find out what's going on in my life there. My son actually checks my Instagram before he calls me, because then he knows where I am. He's in boarding school, so he'll call me and say where are you? Oh, I think you're in Colorado now because I saw that on your Instagram. I post there. I also have a Facebook, two public Facebook pages: Fat Girl Running, one word, and also Mirna Valerio _ the Mirnavator, and that one is kind of curated by my publicist. And then I'm on Twitter, but I think Twitter is a very dangerous place sometimes. So I'm not on Twitter a whole lot, but I do have quite a number of followers on Twitter too. And at themirnavator@gmail.com if people have questions or comments, just don't send me a nasty comment cursing me out because I like to run.
Yeah, I see. Okay. What's your favorite song or composition or?
Oh my God, I have so many. Wow, I have so many. I really love, oh my goodness, I don't have one favorite thing because it's whatever, I always have a playlist in my head, always. And it's always I have a classical playlist, and then I have a sort of pop, hip hop, R&B, that kind of playlist too, alternative music. There's so many things. I really love listening to Puccini and Verdi. I love listening to Callas, Maria Callas, and Leontine Price, and I love singing things in Russian because I have a big voice. I'm a big girl, and I don't have to be small when singing in Russian because it's all dark and loud, and heavy. And so,
could you sing something?
But I really, can I sing something?
Or am I putting you on the spot here?
Okay, pick a language. Let's see. Should I sing something in German?
Me pick a language or?
Yeah, you pick a language.
Well, sing German. Yes, of course. I love to hear that. Now that you mentioned it, of course, yeah.
I have to think. Just thinking, I didn't know the words. That's funny because I don't have any music on me, and usually I'm like, Schubert. I could do some Schubert or Brahms.
Yeah, I'm not picky with that.
All right, let me see if I can remember this one song. This Brahms. Immer leiser. Let me. I'm gonna look at the lyrics. Okay, so it's called Immer leiser wird mein Schlummer. And
which roughly translate into my slumbers is getting quieter and quieter.
It's getting more quiet,
more quiet, yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, I'm not warmed up and I'm sick. So great. Mein Schlummer. Liegt meine Kummer, zittend über mich, Auf den Träumen hör ich dich rufen raus vor meiner Tür. Niemand wacht und öffnet dir. Ich erwach und weine bitterlich, bitterlich.
Wow, that's amazing. You really can sing. Amazing. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Work on my pronunciation.
Okay. I understood everything. So that's
good.
That's good. Sehr gut, sehr gut. Actually, it's sehr gut. Sehr gut gesungen. Sehr schön gesungen, Mirna.
Danke. Vielen Dank.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. That's great.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Here comes the sunshine and burns away clouds like they never were.